Is now the right time to invest in real estate in Chester, PA? You may have heard stories about a number of people having a lot of success investing in real estate in Chester over the years, and you're curious, like, is this my time to step into the mix to be one of them? But you're concerned about all the negative press that seems to just continue to surround Pennsylvania's oldest city. So you may have read headlines related to the city's struggle to kind of financially reinvent itself after the exit of manufacturing jobs, not uncommon in towns in this part of the country. So you read about troubled schools, crime, poverty, and you wonder, is that it? Is that the full story? Is there upside for real estate investors to invest in this suburban Philadelphia town that, quite frankly, the best way to describe it is in transition? In today's video, I will share some pros and also some cons of investing in real estate in Chester, PA for 2024. I'll also give you a brief glimpse of some of the neighborhoods from a boots on the ground perspective. So let's get started. I'm Veronica Woods, and welcome back. If you're a returning visitor to the Real Estate Wisdom channel, I provide market updates about Philadelphia and suburban Delaware County, and I provide a lot of tips really catered toward the investor. So those of you who want to build a profitable rental property portfolio, you're in the right place. Now, below the video, I have a number of resources to share depending on where you are in your journey, about property management, multifamily properties. So definitely look in the description area and click on one of those links and grab up those free resources. And if you want to just talk one-on-one about real estate, there's also a way to connect with me in the links down there as well. Let's start by looking at Chester City on the map. So here's Chester City. It's approximately 25 minutes from Center City, Philadelphia. Let's kind of blow it up on the map here along the waterfront. So Chester City, I'd like to mention Chester City is not to be confused with Chester County, which is kind of northwest of Chester City and includes Westchester, West Goshen, areas like that. So just when you're typing in Google Chester, make sure it's Chester City, not Chester County. So just to point out some of the other anchor institutions, though, I should point out that it's about 15 minutes from Philadelphia International Airport. So some of the key anchor institutions, we have Harrah's Philadelphia Casino. We have Subaru Park, Philadelphia Union Place. This Power Home Remodeling, important, their office is in a Class A office building along the waterfront, so that's something that kind of a hidden gem as far as real estate. Then we have Widener University and their footprint. And then the other anchor, scrolling, Crozier Medical Center. So just wanted to point that out. Number of parks, so kind of green space is something that you will find within Chester. Most of the homes are roughly 1,000 to 1,400 square feet and 3 bedrooms. So that's generally what you'll find. And they're older homes, so the median age of the homes is 88 years. And it's a population that has a lot of renters, so that's why it's been such a cash cow for landlords over the years. Roughly 64% of the populations rent their homes. So let's jump into some of the pros and cons. So starting with the pros, the number one pro and probably most talked about one is the lower price entry point. That's really what a lot of attracts people to kind of want to give Chester a second look. So in 2023, the median sales price was $107,000. And contrast that with Delaware County overall median price, which was $384,000. And then overall for the state, the median price was $319,000. So that's quite a disparity in price points. Now, if you look at that range, on the low end, there was a $5,000 house that was purchased, which was a total tear down. And then on the other end of the spectrum, there was a $398,000 gut rehab of a property near Widener University. The number 2 pro is the location. It's quite a strategic location within the Philadelphia metropolitan area. It's virtually 30 minutes from everywhere, under 30 minutes from everywhere. The airport, a commute to Philadelphia, a commute to Wilmington. It's right off the Route 95, so easy commute from there. Then there's easy commute into New Jersey with the Commodore Barry Bridge. So it's just really allows you to work and play in the region very easily. The third pro is economic assets. And these economic assets are strong. They would be advantageous for any city. So Chester has waterfront property, which is anchored by the Subaru Park and the soccer stadium for the Philadelphia Union team. There are a number of proposed projects to kind of further build out that area, including an expansion of a recreational complex. The city has designated state and federal opportunity zones, which also should be attractive to developers. The question really is the development moving too slow? And what is really the reason why some of these projects haven't taken off or really been completed or moved as quickly as a lot of people had hoped? So one question is, can the city, in the midst of its financial issues, pull together the right incentives to attract not only developers, but new businesses to operate and thrive in the city of Chester? Now, there have been some new business success. There's been a microbrewery that's opened. There's been some expansion of some seasoned businesses. A Ford dealership has expanded its floor room. So there is some upside, but people question, is it enough? The fourth pro I'll mention is cash flowing opportunity. So Chester is known for giving long-term investors lots of room for cash flow. One way to kind of measure or compare whether the relative cash flow attractiveness is to calculate something called a price to rent ratio. So generally, a price to rent ratio under 15 is known for being good for cash flow. Now, if we take Chester's price to rent ratio is roughly 6.94, given a median price of $107,000 I mentioned in 2023, and a median monthly rent of $1,285. Now, for comparison, I'll mention that 19143 area code, which is in West Philly and parts of Southwest Philly, has a ratio of 9.8. Lansdowne, also in Delaware County, has a ratio of 12.7. And then Westchester, which is actually in Chester County, has a ratio of 19.8, so which is not really a good cash flow in general, just based on looking at that one metric. Now let's turn to some of the cons. So the first con is the financial woes of the city. So the city of Chester has been really under financial stress since the 1990s. And in 2020, a state-appointed receiver stepped in to help lead the recovery plans for the city. So the question really is, can the current leadership effectively turn the economic assets into opportunity for investors during the next economic cycle? So I've kind of alluded to that in other parts of the video, and that is really a valid question. I think the residents, or the fate depends on it. So if you take who the population or renters or people living in Chester, like 51% of the roughly 12,000 households earn under $35,000 a year. So that really puts them square in the low to moderate income bracket. And a lot of these jobs aren't even in Chester City. So roughly 90% of people are traveling outside of Chester for employment. So now what does this mean in terms of of you thinking about being a landlord here. One, you have to know that you are renting to a more vulnerable population. So that means when there's financial turmoil across the country, it's going to hit this population a little harder. And second, these economic factors have weighed down appreciation investors have made in Chester. So emphasize on the pro side is great for cash flow. On the con side, not as much for appreciation. Although even in what I call the unicorn years of the early 2021 and 2022, there has been appreciation, but like I said, not as much as in other areas. The third con is the crime reputation. So the city of Chester has really struggled to shake off the narrative that crime just runs rampant in Chester. Now, anybody who studies economics knows that if you have a town that is under economic stress overall and has a lot of financially insecure citizens, crime probably is going to be an issue. Now, I would say that in recent years, especially post-pandemic, the crime has kind of elevated as an issue across the Philadelphia metropolitan area. And you can go online and Google all sorts of crime stats. I'm not going to dive into any specifics on this video. I will point out that there has been some innovation as the issue has come to the forefront in some kind of a solution. So there has been some innovation around gun violence in Chester specifically since 2019, and there's some articles online that you could read further about that. The last con I'll mention with investing in Chester is that you'll likely have an older home with older home problems, which likely means a lot of deferred maintenance. So I mentioned in the overview of Chester, PA, that the median home age is 88 years old. So that's the middle. So there's some 100+ year homes there as well. So that means that the exchange of having a lower entry point, you probably will have a higher rehab budget. Probably if it's not at purchase, you should probably plan to do more capital intensive renovations over time. So that's something you just have to keep in mind, because you not only want to rent it enough to put a tenant in, you'll also want to stay in compliance with the local L&I and keep up that maintenance so that you don't have any violations. So it's just something to consider, that you'll have you're investing in an older home, and that has some inherent challenges that you just need to factor in up front. After going through some of the pros and the cons, let me take you on a quick boots on the ground tour of parts of Chester, with special attention of just looking at the variety in home styles. We start off near one of the economic development sites we were talking about, and some of the homes in the background. Traditional twin homes, semi-detached. You notice they're all 2-story homes, as well as the properties on this block, except for these are more row-style homes. You won't find too many 3-story properties in this area. Lower maintenance, which is a plus. And you see some of the homes have been stuccoed, or the marble front and one on the end, original brick. It's another block, more twins. You'll see some front yards in this block, so there's a little maintenance required by the tenants, or a landscaping expense that you'll have to incur. See, some of the porches have been enclosed. Here's another style home that you'll find. These are a little smaller, also have a front yard. Here's another style brick row home. And see that these properties have much bigger yards. There's always also usually a carport area in the back of the home for parking. And yet another style brick homes in Chester. To wrap up, Chester is best for the patient investor. If you consider its strategic economic assets, its great location, and the continuing stable demand of renters, you'll be okay with a focus on cash flow. But if you're expecting a strong headwind of appreciation and a quick payday, you're going to be disappointed. So if you want cash flow, Chester is still a good option. Now, if you want advice about how to calculate the cash flow accurately in today's market, you want to check out the video that's appearing on the screen now. As always, happy investing.